20 minutes presentation? People are tired. I mean, nice. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Anyway, hello. Thank you very much for doing this, for inviting me here. This is thanks to you, Eric. I don't know exactly where I am yet, but it doesn't matter. I'll get to know you. Okay, so my name is Amalia Zepou. I am from Athens, Greece. I have my background is in social anthropology and documentary making until about 10 years ago, at the beginning of the crisis in Greece. Just to give you a little bit the context, the crisis that kind of started from 2008. I was fascinated with the increasing number of activities that people were doing in the city. The system had failed, and those activities were increasing, even though we are known for not being good at being volunteers. Greeks don't like the word volunteer at all, and they don't like the word NGO either. I mean, they both correlate to negative things. But they were very active in the city. And those grassroots kind of spontaneous activities that started spreading, I was fascinated by, and I thought I'd stop making documentaries about them and do some of those myself. So I became myself an activist during the years 2008, 2012. And after a while, I could see that this was a fantastic bed upon which to build new types of relationship with the municipality. All these people were very angry people to the state and to the municipality that was not doing their job. So we created a platform, and I'm doing this introduction so that you can place and understand the kind of efforts we're doing with refugees at the moment. So we created a platform that today has collected more than 4,000 activities of people being active in the public sphere. More than 400 of these groups, most of whom are grassroots communities. Anyway, there's a lot to say about them, but this was, and it's a kind of platform upon which you can study really a new relationship that rose between citizens and the public sphere, at least in the context of Athens. I think that the crisis was an incredible opportunity for us, at least, when the system had completely failed, to be able to turn the municipality capacity to the citizens. It is, for the first time, the municipality kind of opened its doors to that voice. Because it was in debt, the municipality was in complete debt, and there were 12,000 city officials in 2010. There are only 5,000 today. The austerity measures do not allow us to employ new ones. So the city officials are shrinking and aging. The younger one is 45 years old today. So I mean, we're heading towards another crisis at the moment if we don't plan the way the municipality is going to work from now on. So in this context of crisis and of people changing their relationship to the public sphere, wanting to do things rather than to say things, the 2015, 2016, there's a flow of people coming from the east and the south. More than 1 million people passed through Athens at that moment, creating an incredible, a population that did not know where it was going to end up. And they remained in this limbo. I mean, the word limbo refers to this displacement and this lack of knowledge where you are and what, I mean, it's a complete loss of identity, which in fact has many things in common with the Athens population, the Greek population itself. There's 30% unemployment the last 10 years, in which 60% is of people between the ages of 18 to 25. And it's not only being unemployed, it is being out of activity for a very long period of time. And social welfare is based on giving to people basic needs, but turning them into passive recipients of food and shelter without reactivating. So the challenge with the refugees was to how can you get them out of this passive state, and re-energize in a city that is all suffering like them, in a limbo state itself. These are just images from the camps in which they landed the first days, and these are images of Athens. Vacant, there are more than 2,000 abandoned public buildings in the center of Athens, and more than 150,000 empty flats in the center of Athens, counted in 2011. Now this is changing because Airbnb is coming into the picture, so this is changing. But you had this, so you have a population that landed, was stranded in the city, in a city that itself is suffering from being in inertia. So we were trying to see how can we bring those two things together. These are just images. So these are the things I just told you about: high unemployment rates. We turned to the active population. We said, why don't we try and connect this inactive refugee population to those that are active in the city, those that have reacted spontaneously by trying to do things for the city, and see whether through them, not wait until they learn the language, find a house, get a job, and then connect to this active population, but do everything together from day one. So we were able to do that because we had created this platform, and I wanted just to show you how people, every time there's an activity in the city, people can put a pin on the these are the 7 districts of Athens. This is the way they upload their pins. This is the way we count them, the 4,000, more than 4,000 activities. And I wanted to show you, okay, who are these active people with whom we'd connect newly arrived populations? What kind of things do they do? How have they developed and expressed their interest in the public sphere? So these are just images of what people started doing. Cleaning facades. This is a guy who designed a mobile laundrette for homeless people and refugees, and went around. Urban gardening, classic. People that sit with aged people. You have to understand that there is no social welfare in Athens at all. It has all collapsed. All the services that people might take for granted really have collapsed. So this is just an apartment where some people invite people of old age from the neighborhoods to keep them company. This is Generation 2 is a community group that loves sport and does sports with migrant populations in Greece. These are guys that clean up, incredibly damaged facades from the center of Athens. And this is a building that was squatted in 2015 by guys that had been to the island of Lesbos, where refugees had just arrived. And they started creating schools, language courses, bottom up. This was not supported by the state. The state still has not started any integration strategy. People have been here in Greece for 4 years, and there is no integration strategy yet applied. So everything is done either by NGOs or community groups or some municipalities. In terms of integration, I mean, the shift from the humanitarian aid to the integration strategy is only happening hesitantly by bottom-up initiatives and municipalities. These are some guys who created a moving library with books in Farsi and Arabic in the city of Athens. This is a building that was abandoned, a public building that was abandoned, and I put it here because just to show the kind of things that one can do if you empower this dynamism of the grassroots and community group population, we said, this building, that we have no money and no managerial resources from the municipality to run it. Why don't you have a go at it? So we asked what people wanted this building to become, and we did not do a consultation. Oh, I love the consultation description you did under the tree. We wanted, this was an area with a lot of political conflict, migrants, extreme right-wing Golden Dawn people. I mean, it was a community in tension, and this public building kind of symbolized the strife itself. So instead of coming out like municipalities do with boring questionnaires or surveys, we invited community groups and artists in particular that were in the area, and we said, why don't you think of a way to ask everybody living in this area what they would like this building to become, but not with questionnaires. So they came up with colors, and they told people, make what you want instead of draw it. So people came, and so that kind of game, and it lasted for a whole weekend. For 48 hours, people would pass and would draw or cut and tell what the building should become, so that we were able to collect more than 500 ideas that really became a vision for the building, which finally incorporated those three things that people were saying. One was social entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial commercial activities, but with a social side. This is the question I would have asked you, whether there are things like that coming up, you know, as sustainable activities in your land. The other was cultural events, and free for people to come in the open air space of this building 3 times a week to do theater performances or music performances. And then some of them also wanted hardcore municipal services, like, you know, pay your ticket or change your identity card, or those kind of things. And this is what happened. And it took more than 3 years, of course, to persuade the city council. Nobody, everybody was saying, you're mad to give the building away to someone else to run it. But it happened. It was a test to navigate the legal framework, but I was certain that we had the legal possibility to actually give a building away if the building implements the vision of the community. I mean, it made so much sense. Everybody would tell me that, you know, no, you can't do it, it's illegal, blah, blah, blah. Well, I had to hire a lawyer and to really dig into the possibility. Just an idea of what one does. Anyway, and it was inaugurated some months ago, and it's going really well. So it is just to show the kind of the dynamism of this community population out there that is genuinely interested in the public sphere, in public matters. If you have a good moderator, and I think municipalities have to become moderators, orchestrators of that dynamism, and really not tell their view, because they usually know nothing about what people really want, but moderate this dynamism, because it does bring out solutions. So we did the same for the refugees. So we got communities that were there, and refugees themselves, and we said, okay, let's see how we can think together of a way to get out of the limbo, the refugee population, and connect them with what is actually happening in the city. So we had a lot of local consultations in the camps, outside the camps. We came up with a model. I won't go into the details, but we brought, it is what I said before. It is learning the language, developing skills, identifying skills you don't know you have, all through the connection and the activities of what people are doing in the city. because it is in action that those things happen really more, more resultfully. It has 4 levels, as I said: the training, the housing model. The housing model refers to the lack of, the non-affordability of housing in Athens, which is a new problem due to Airbnb. So those 150,000 empty flats 5 years ago now cannot be found, now are too expensive, because people are renting them not to, to the Airbnb thing. So we're trying to find incentives to proprietors to lower their rents against community work around the blocks and around the areas where the houses are. These are just pictures of things that have been happening in the city with refugees and community groups. This is a 4-year program. We got funding from the European Commission to test this model and to explore this possibility. We are at our 2nd year, but we don't know the results of what we're doing yet. But the reflex of the first activities that are coming out have to do with placemaking. People finding places, either buildings or empty buildings or squares. Here they brought those yurts, tents in the middle of the square, and did photography exhibitions and small documentaries of the local community together. Right. I'm saying, so all this is a model that we were testing those last 6 years in the municipality at different levels. I brought the open schools as an example because it is parallel to the others, and maybe it shows the model more clearly. The municipality is responsible for the school buildings in Athens, not the education, but the buildings. School hours are from 9 to 1. So we decided to open the school building after 1 o'clock to the whole community and say, okay, here's a building every day for you, every day from 3 to 9, even weekends. What do you do? What do you want to do with it? So a lot of community groups came in and started doing language classes to refugees themselves, starting to take initiatives to do classes and to learn things together in terms of, in the frame of the activity building. So during those 5 years, I think the municipality kind of created a model. Because the municipality was itself a failed system, every time we achieved something, either the use of a public building or the open schools and lots of other things, bringing digital developers in the municipality, it was because the actual municipality was able to moderate collaboration with the unusual suspects and the incredible capacity of the city. The city has the knowledge to solve the problems. It is the municipality that usually doesn't know how to coordinate that knowledge. So, and this is the model that came out of a lot of projects. This is what we call an ecosystem, let's say, surrounding the municipality. The opportunity with Athens is that because of the financial crisis, which was also political and moral and all sorts of other crises too, and the system failed completely to address the challenges of these years, we were able to articulate, unlike other European cities, we were able to articulate clearly that the local government has failed. This is something that politicians really don't like saying. But by doing so, it touched a vein, and a lot of other cities, European cities, even Northern European cities that seem to have everything in place, this conversation with us, and it is very interesting to see that this is a common feeling among a lot of cities around Europe. We all talk about ecosystems that surround our failed municipalities, but it remains to be seen if this constellation of small possibilities, these are all projects that we designed that way just to show the potential of this ecosystem that nevertheless remains completely fragmented. I mean, there is something, the potential is there. We arrived at the stage where we could actually articulate this possibility. We brought in citizens and community groups in the decision-making from idea to ownership in some cases, but I don't think that we were completely honest with the notion of empowerment. I think there is a kind of very deep resistance among the politicians. We had elections last week, new mayor, we don't know what's going to happen. I think that the notion of empowerment, which is to actually give power to the other people to decide for the city, I think it's a nice word. We use it in the jargon of social innovation. People love it. But I don't think we really did it entirely. I think it remained in words. But it remains to be seen now if this is going to last and if this model really can go a step further and start becoming the participative governance that we'd like to see. Full stop. I can talk for hours. I don't know how long that was. Okay.
Very good, thank you. So questions?
I think I was moving it. I think.
No, it's good. It was good. Yeah.
Good mic.
Good mic. Good mic.
I think like absolutely fascinating and really also just kind of refreshing to hear a story that's very positive in many ways. I have a question kind of about how it happened, but also the future, which is the kind of process of change within the municipality. So you mentioned a lot that it was an acknowledgement of a failure, and in the context of a crisis that, you know, the institution of the municipality began to reform itself. So I was just wondering, you know, it sounds in one sweep like, oh, yeah, that happens. But actually, I imagine, you know, quite a difficult process, especially for an organization that's firing 60% of its workforce. And I was wondering also in terms of the open question as to like the next political cycle and what happens if the degree to which you feel what you've described has been institutionalized within the municipality, and, you know, if within that there's the organization, like how much it's really taken it into its fiber.
Well, we tried to, for example, in municipalities, the very technical and boring places, we did create in the administration a sector called civil society and innovation. Okay, that's huge for a municipality that really doesn't even like those words. That doesn't mean that this is going to you know, how much has it gone under the skin of the culture? To some extent it did. I mean, for example, the open schools, or we have a great example of civic technology, digital civic technology thing. I don't know. What I wanted to say, I don't know if it's going to last. I don't know. I mean, the rise of populism in Europe, a lot of things are against the tide for this. It definitely opened a door. It definitely changed small little cultures in there. But this fragmentation is still a danger. You know, that, you know, all these people are struggling to do what people, when people are active in the public sphere, they do things out of passion. And there's a fatigue moment. You know, you can't last forever like that if you're not somehow supported. We found ways to support people, to help them become social entrepreneurs, from grassroots activists, or to create a small NGO or a non-profit society, learn how to do fundraising. There was all of that. But whether it changes something in the actual political, the governance, it remains to be seen. I have that question. I don't know.
Sure. I mean, it's just a comment really, but my sense is that, you know, it's almost like in human psychology, we sort of internalize that there's a crisis, And then in that moment, there's a great opportunity for people to behave differently and to mobilize and to sacrifice things and to be creative. But it requires that shift, where people feel there's a crisis. And I think that's where, there's a great opportunity, or there was a great opportunity in Athens, but perhaps it's harder for other municipalities in other countries to sort of get to make their case.
You see it everywhere happening. It's not only in Athens. It took a lot to the shape of its own society. We are a family, we are a society of small-size family entrepreneurs. Family is God for us. So, and maybe this fragmentation is due to that. Maybe it is just reflecting the way we understand the society. We're just families that connect with suspicion towards each other, never together entirely.
Just because it connects. Hi, sorry. I mean, I work for the Intercultural Cities program of the Council of Europe, and what you're describing is something that it's amazing and it's really interesting. But we did see, I think, in the moment of the crisis, even in places that might look the ones that need most help, we had seen this kind of innovation, like, for example, in a small city of Jordan that is called Sahab, that is actually just outside Amman. They have used the opportunity given by the crisis to really open up the entire policy making. So the mayor was holding bi-weekly meetings with the citizens to come up with solutions, not just with problems. And similar experience were in the city of Erlangen in Germany, where again the crisis was used as a way to innovate the way that public administration works. But and this is like, I actually noted it down yesterday, and then I ended up talking about something completely different. But I think yesterday I said I see a big hope, because in the face of like ideological discussion at the national level, cities are pragmatic and they have to deliver, and they see people in the eyes. And all the good experiences that we have seen, it was always citizens leading, so citizens activities, and cities that were courageous enough to accept and leave space for citizens to do things, and then being the megaphone for what was happening. So cities committed and courageous enough to really open up space for what we actually have been doing for centuries before we invented all the bureaucracies. But yeah.
You're right, there is a big opportunity there, and people are seeing it. It's true. And the European Commission also gives funding now more and more to urban innovative actions. Okay. Big. No, but there's the urban agenda, which is a movement coming that started from Germany, when Germany had the presidency of the Commission, that gives cities more of a say in national matters. Mayors should be around the decision-making table, in other words. No, there is that, and you see it. And also there are so many new challenges that the city's infrastructures cannot address any longer, that people are, a lot of them are spontaneously changing.
Thank you for coming and talking as well. I feel super inspired by what you've described. I'm interested in how you described the role of moderating, the municipality being a moderator for other stakeholders. And I think it's interesting that you said the municipality shouldn't assume to know what the community wants, so leave enough space for the community's voice to come out. But at the same time, I guess you do want to create a space that's kind of intentional in the right way. I mean, it can't just be completely open without any shape or anything. So like, how do you find that balance of creating enough structure, but not too much?
Exactly. I mean, I think the job description has to change for municipality. That's for sure. But I think they have to remain the center, have to retain the central role, because municipality is what the mission statement of municipalities and local government is: the public good. All right. All the other players, you know, private NGOs, whatever, have different agendas. And if someone doesn't keep a compass, you know, for public good, then even, you know, even without wanting, the others might kind of make, you know, come up with solutions that are not with that primary focus, I think. So there is a very important role for municipalities to moderate and to keep a compass for the public good, but not patronize.
Last question.
Last question, I think.
Mine is a quick one. And thank you so much for sharing. And it's incredible with what is happening in the city, turning refugees into equal citizens or providing opportunities instead of just herding them into a refugee camp like what is happening in many other places. So has this then, these opportunities, what does it mean for the refugees? Have they stayed permanently in Athens or Greece, or are they still going into other places, or they've made Athens home?
They haven't stopped arriving. More than 1 million left and went mainly to Germany and some other European countries. We estimate to have 20,000 in Athens and 60,000 all around Greece at the moment. It's an estimation, but most of which most of them live still in either in camps or in temporary flats that were given to them out of the humanitarian aid. So they haven't shifted to the integration. You know, they haven't started, you know, paying their rent and finding jobs legally, at least. It's mad.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I hope it was relevant.